Japan, a stunning country in Asia, famous for its majestic Mount Fuji and long history, as well as the cherry blossoms blooming in Tokyo's Ueno Park. Beyond its natural beauty, Japan is also renowned for its rich cuisine, especially sushi and sashimi made from fresh seafood caught by Japanese fishermen. It is also one of the nations with the highest seafood catch in the world. In this video, let's explore how Japanese fishermen harvest millions of tons of seafood every year. To begin today's journey, we'll see how Japanese fishermen catch tuna, an activity deeply connected to the nation's tradition and culinary culture. Before each voyage, fishermen must prepare their fishing gear and maintain all equipment aboard the vessel. Salt is lifted onto the ship using cranes, where it will be used to preserve tuna during long trips at sea. The captain also holds a meeting to assign tasks to every crew member. Once everything is ready, the large ship departs the harbour amidst the waves and farewells of family members, wishing them a safe and prosperous journey. Upon reaching the fishing grounds, the captain relies on sonar signals to locate the position, depth and size of tuna schools, calculating where and how to cast the nets. Next, a small boat carries one end of the net out to sea. The boat's job is to encircle the tuna school with the net, an operation that usually takes 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the size of the school and the fisherman's experience. At this time, a helicopter also takes off to assist. From above, it spots the tuna's movements and relays the location to the ship and the boats below. It also helps drive the tuna into the center of the net, working alongside smaller support boats. The net is then pulled back aboard using a hydraulic winch system, a process that requires around 10 fishermen to arrange the net properly. The haul can take several hours, as the nets often stretch around 5,000 to 10,000 feet in length. A smaller boat helps anchor one edge of the net to the ship, making it easier to collect the catch. A large bag net is then used to harvest the tuna. Once the bag net sinks into the enclosed area, the tuna swim inside it, and when full, the entire bag is hoisted back up onto the deck. The bag's bottom can be released with a single mechanism, dropping the tuna directly into the ship's hold. The harvesting continues until the entire school is caught. Each haul can yield 33,000 to 88,000 pounds of tuna, while larger schools may reach over 150,000 pounds. With an average price of $3.63 per pound, fishermen can earn hundreds of thousands of dollars per haul, showing the remarkable profitability of this fishing method. Besides bag nets, some crews also use manual hauling techniques to bring tuna aboard, though this requires much more effort. For smaller boats with lower catch volumes, fishermen often use a knife to swiftly end the tuna's life, an important step for quality preservation. Doing so reduces the fish's suffering time and helps to maintain better meat quality. After being harvested, the tuna is moved into the storage area using a conveyor system. This method helps save labour while preventing the fish from being damaged by impact, which could also affect the quality of the tuna meat. For short fishing trips, many boats use seawater mixed with crushed ice to preserve the tuna. Fishermen also add salt to extend the preservation time. With this method, the tuna is kept at a temperature between 32 and 37 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to maintain freshness without freezing the fish completely. To meet the demand for high-quality fresh tuna in the market, the fishermen place the tuna into tanks on board during the trip, and once they return, the tuna are transferred into sea cages like these for further preservation. Next, let's move to the longline fishing method. This technique uses one main fishing line equipped with multiple branch lines, each carrying baited hooks. First, the fishermen attach the bait and release the long line into the ocean. Buoys are also deployed at intervals, each connected by a matching line length. The baited lines are left in the water for 6 to 12 hours, during which fishermen rest and prepare for the retrieval process. The lines are then reeled back in using a hydraulic hauling machine. This device winds the fishing line onto coils, and once it stops, the fishermen remove the coils for the next set. When a tuna becomes exhausted and is pulled close to the boat, the fishermen use a gaff hook to lift it aboard. They usually hook the tuna by the gills to avoid damaging the meat along the body, though this is the moment when the fish suffers the most. For large tuna weighing hundreds of pounds, it typically takes 3 fishermen and the assistance of a winch to haul the massive fish on board. Afterwards, the tuna is processed to remove the gills and tail. The fishermen then transfer the tuna into a refrigerated storage area. Here it is kept at temperatures ranging from 32 down to 28 degrees Fahrenheit to maintain the best quality. Still using hooks, we'll now explore a truly spectacular method of tuna fishing, the one that's considered a cultural symbol of Japan's tuna fishing tradition. When the fishermen reach an area where a school of tuna is spotted, one crew member begins tossing bait into the sea to lure the fish closer. Once the tuna gather, the fishermen cast their hooks into the water. Because the tuna are so densely packed, they quickly bite or get hooked by the hooks. The fishermen then jerk the rods upward sharply, and the hooks are specially designed so that when pulled, the tuna are flung off the hook and land directly onto the deck. For large schools, the work becomes extremely demanding. In those cases, 2 to 3 fishermen may need to work together using the same bait to haul in a single tuna. Behind them, the deck is designed with a sloped surface so that the tuna slides smoothly towards the conveyor belt, minimizing injuries and making it easier to move the fish into storage. This operation typically involves around 20 fishermen and continues non-stop until the entire school has been caught. Depending on the school's size, they can harvest 5.5 to 22 short tons of tuna in one session. Another form of tuna fishing is single rod fishing. This is a more recreational and emotionally engaging type of fishing. The angler experiences the thrill of waiting for a bite and the exhaustion of struggling with a powerful tuna for hours, before finally the exhilaration of landing the catch. Tuna fishing offers a truly unforgettable experience, one worth trying at least once in a lifetime. Once the tuna return to port, they are lifted ashore by cranes, weighed and sorted based on processing purposes. The fish are then loaded onto trucks to be transported to markets and processing facilities. At these facilities, workers use saw machines to cut the tuna into sections, then grinders to remove the skin. The meat is further sliced into smaller portions and finally packaged for distribution. Japan is also world famous for its tuna auctions, where bidders, mostly wholesalers and restaurant chains, compete for premium catches. At the beginning of 2025, a single tuna sold for approximately $1.3 million at one of these auctions.
Excellent grading. Yes, this batch meets all export standards. We authorize the sale.
Although Japan's tuna catch volume is massive, the country still imports over 209,000 short tons of tuna each year, showing how immense the domestic demand is for the fish known as the king of sushi and sashimi. Next, we'll explore another highly profitable seafood species in Japan, the king crab, which fishermen primarily catch using troll nets. When they arrive at the fishing grounds, the crews begin deploying the nets, a process that usually takes 30 to 45 minutes. After the nets are fully released, they drop marker buoys to indicate the location. The nets are left to soak for around 6 to 12 hours, during which the crew rests and eats before hauling them back in.
Yes, enough to feed the whole crew. I'll take that.
The fishermen will return to the fishing grounds early in the next morning. The net is then pulled up using a winch and the fisherman's strength. Each haul can bring in around 120 to 300 king crabs. The crabs caught in the net are carefully removed using specialised tools. This task definitely isn't for the impatient. It takes time, and if not done properly, it can tear the net, making it unusable for the next trip. After being freed, the king crabs are placed into holding tanks, keeping them alive to ensure the best meat quality. The crabs are then lifted ashore by crane, where they are weighed and sorted before being sent to supermarkets and local markets. Japan is also a major consumer market for king crab. Every year, the country imports hundreds of tons of king crabs from nations like China and Russia. In addition to high-value seafood like tuna and king crab, squid is also another vital marine resource, accounting for a large share of Japan's total catch. To catch squid at night, fishermen typically set sail in the late afternoon. The captain uses sonar signals to locate the squid schools, then long lines are automatically released into the sea by a mechanised reel system. Squid hunt for food at night, and fishermen use high-powered lights to attract plankton and other small fish, which in turn lure the squid in to bite the bait. When the squid have taken the bait, the fishing line is pulled in by the automatic reel system. The squid jigs are designed with multiple hooks and a structure that makes the squid automatically fall off after passing through the roller. The entire process is automated, saving the fishermen time and effort while improving efficiency. Every night, fishermen will work continuously for 8 to 10 hours, depending on the size of the squid school. Each fishing trip lasts 2 to 3 days, though some may extend up to a month. Working through the night with such high density for many consecutive days at sea is definitely a feature of this job. Depending on the season and duration of the trip, fishermen can harvest between 3.3 to 11 short tons of squid. And during peak season, they can bring in up to 55 short tons, showing just how large Japan's squid fishing operations truly are. After harvesting, the squid are sorted and placed into trays. The trays are then moved to cold storage via a conveyor system, where the squid are stacked on racks for preservation. The storage temperature is kept between 32 and 28 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing the fish to stay fresh for up to 7 days. Once chilled, the squid are bagged for transport and sale. Upon returning to port, the catch is unloaded and prepared for domestic markets and export. In Japan, squid is most famously served as sashimi, a signature dish that highlights the freshness of this seafood delicacy. For small-scale fishermen, harvesting relies entirely on manual labour. They rotate a central reel by hand, one side pulling on the line while the other side casts it back out. The direction of rotation depends on where the squid are biting. Another popular technique is single-line squid fishing, mainly used for tourism and recreation. The line carries multiple baits on branching hooks to increase catch rates. Typically, each outing yields around 7 to 15 pounds of squid. The catch is often prepared directly on the boat, and to preserve it, the squid are hung on lines to air dry, extending their storage time. Let's say goodbye to Japan, because now we're heading down under to Australia to see how fishermen there catch Australian lobsters. This is a very popular form of fishing in Australia, generating hundreds of millions of dollars for the country each year. Bait prepared in advance is secured inside lobster traps. Then the traps are lowered into predetermined locations, with buoys also deployed to mark their positions. The traps are set continuously until all have been placed. The traps are usually left submerged for around 12 to 24 hours. This period is long enough for lobsters to enter the traps, while keeping enough bait in there so that they don't starve during the soaking process. After soaking, fishermen return to retrieve the buoys. They use a winch to gradually pull up the traps. For each trap lifted, fishermen must move them to a designated spot for sorting. This is physically demanding work, as each trap typically weighs several dozen pounds. Once lifted, the lobsters are sorted by size. Australian lobsters with a carapace length of 4.3 inches or more are considered marketable, while egg-bearing females and undersized lobsters are returned to the sea. This sorting is essential for population conservation and maintaining sustainable annual catches.
We could, you never know.
Each fishing trip usually yields around 1.3 to 2.2 short tonnes of Australian lobsters. Annual lobster production in Australia reaches over 3,400 short tonnes. Lobster prices range from $22.20 to $38.85 per pound. Despite the physically demanding work and occasional hazards, lobster fishing remains popular due to the high income it offers.
Oh, he's a beauty.
After being harvested, the lobsters are placed in seawater tanks to keep them alive, ensuring freshness. Once back on shore, the water is drained from the tanks so fishermen can transfer the lobsters to baskets. This is a challenging task due to the confined space. The lobsters are then transported on shore to be prepared for the market. Next, we move on to lobster diving. In areas where lobsters are present, fishermen dive down. Australian lobsters often hide under large rocks to feed and avoid predators. Once located, the lobsters are grabbed by hand. Catching lobsters in a confined area is relatively easy because they have limited space to escape. The lobsters are then placed into mesh bags to prevent escape. This method is excellent for promoting tourism experiences. Finally, we come to abalone, a highly nutritious seafood. Wild abalone is harvested entirely by hand. When arriving at the harvesting area, fishermen dive into the sea. Once they locate an abalone, they use a thin knife to detach it from the rock. Abalone usually cling tightly to the rock's surface, making it very difficult to remove them by hand. Before harvesting, fishermen also check the size of the abalone. To harvest large quantities, extensive diving experience is required, often for many hours underwater. Abalone mainly live in shallow coastal areas. During low tide, many fishermen go out to collect them. They often use a metal hook to reach down into crevices and to pry the abalone loose. On beaches with many small rocks, fishermen usually lift the rocks to find and collect the abalone attached underneath. In addition to wild harvesting, abalone are also farmed in sea cages. This method allows the abalone to grow naturally, but fishermen also must follow proper farming techniques to ensure quality and protect the marine environment. Abalone are typically harvested after 2 to 3 years of farming. In Australia, abalone prices range from $20 to $40 per pound. Each farm can supply 11 to 33 short tons of abalone annually to the market. Australia consumes around 1,100 to 1,650 short tons of abalone each year, while exporting around 5,500 short tons to markets such as South Korea and Japan. Abalone is usually prepared in dishes like grilled abalone or abalone soup. Have you ever tasted this nutritious seafood with its amazing flavour? Let us know in the comment section below.
We must toast to this feast. Cheers, everyone.